Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into what I like to call the missing manual for our financial lives. We're going to totally break down the mechanics of money. We'll start way up high with the massive macroeconomic systems that literally govern the world, and then zoom right down into the micro habits that actually build true, lasting personal wealth.
So, let's kick things off with a question that, honestly, frustrates millions of us. I mean, think about it. We spend years learning complex algebra or, how to dissect a frog in biology class. But the exact skills that dictate our financial future every single day, somehow those were just completely left out. Why is that?
To put this into perspective, just think about the number 21. As of 2024, that is the exact number of states in the U.S. that actually require a financial literacy course to graduate high school. Just 21. That means literally half the country is graduating completely blind when it comes to managing credit, filing taxes, or even just basic budgeting. It's wild.
So here is our agenda for today. First, we'll cover the financial education gap. Second, how money is created. Third, the invisible tax known as inflation. Fourth, we'll navigate the tax system. And finally, number 5, we'll get into the wealth-building playbook.
All right, Section 1, the financial education gap. It turns out that this huge absence of financial education isn't some malicious conspiracy. Honestly, it's mostly just the byproduct of a really overwhelmed system. Schools are dealing with these incredibly overcrowded curriculums that heavily prioritize standardized testing. And since personal finance isn't federally tested, well, it naturally just gets pushed aside. Plus, it's left up to individual states, and there's a serious lack of teachers who actually feel qualified to teach it, usually because, well, they were never taught it themselves.
Moving right along to Section 2, how money is created.
If you really want to understand wealth, you have got to understand this massive, game-changing shift that happened back in 1971. You see, the U.S. moved from money that had intrinsic physical value, the gold standard, to a 100% fiat money system. Basically, your dollar used to be a paper receipt for actual physical gold. But today it acts purely as an accounting unit. It circulates and holds value simply because the government stipulates it as legal tender to pay debts, and well, because we all collectively trust it.
And to manage this whole fiat system, we rely on the central bank of the U.S., the Federal Reserve, which was created way back in 1913. Their main goals? Controlling inflation, targeting around 2%, and supporting employment. They do this by mechanically setting interest rates or by buying and selling treasury bonds on the open market. And here is a mind-blowing fact. They do this largely just by typing digital numbers into a database. Seriously, today, only 11% of the total U.S. money supply exists as actual physical cash. No way, right?
But wait, the Federal Reserve isn't the only one making money. Commercial banks do it too. It's like a giant puzzle called the money multiplier effect. Imagine you deposit $100 into a bank. If they keep a 10% reserve, they hold $10 and lend out $90 to a borrower. Then that borrower spends the $90, which gets deposited into another bank. That bank keeps 10%, $9, and lends out $81. This cycle repeats infinitely. So that single $100 deposit can legally create $1,000 of value in the economy. In our modern system, money is essentially credit.
Okay, Section 3, the invisible tax, inflation.
Inflation is basically this hidden, invisible tax in our economy. It's the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services rises. It never actually appears on your tax returns, but believe me, everyone pays it. If the money supply increases faster than the creation of real goods and services, your dollars simply lose their purchasing power.
To make this a little more visceral, let's just think about the classic Big Mac. When McDonald's first released it back in 1967, it cost just 45 cents. Today, that exact same sandwich costs over $4. The burger hasn't changed, the ingredients haven't changed, the only thing that plummeted was the value of the fiat money used to buy it.
So think about what this actually means for your savings. If inflation just averages a pretty normal 3% a year, an item that costs $100 today is going to cost $134 in just 10 years. That's a 34% increase. What that means is simply saving cash under your mattress guarantees you are mathematically getting poorer every single day. Your money has to constantly grow just to keep up.
Which brings us to Section 4, navigating the tax system.
Let's look at how the tax system mechanically treats individuals versus businesses, because it is very different. Personal income taxes are progressive, meaning they scale all the way up from 10% to 37%. Now, C corporations enjoy a flat 21% rate, but they face double taxation on their profits and dividends. And this is exactly why you'll see so many small business owners using pass-through entities, like LLCs or S-corps. The business income bypasses the corporate tax entirely and flows directly to their personal returns to avoid that double taxation trap. Pretty smart, right?
Finally, Section 5, the Wealth Building Playbook.
This is where we get into the micro level. Robert Kiyosaki draws this brutally simple distinction that is absolutely crucial. He says an asset puts money into your pocket, like businesses, rental properties, or dividend stocks. A liability takes money out of your pocket, like car payments or consumer debt. That's it. Now, a lot of people just assume their primary house is their biggest asset. But if it constantly drains your cash flow through expensive maintenance, taxes, and insurance, it's actually acting exactly like a liability. The wealthy focus relentlessly on acquiring true assets first.
Because here's the reality. Income creates opportunity, but savings create wealth. You can earn $100,000 a year, but if you spend $100,000 a year, you aren't wealthy. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is where financial freedom lives. The absolute foundation here is avoiding lifestyle inflation, where your spending just automatically increases to match every single raise you get. When your salary goes up, don't ask, what can I buy? Ask, what asset can I acquire?
And you really need to start acquiring those assets as early as humanly possible. Let's just look at the math for a second. Investing just $100 a month at an 8% return starting at age 20 yields nearly $350,000 by age 60. But if you wait and start at age 30, your results are cut entirely in half, down to $175,000. It's crazy. Compound interest rewards time far, far more than it rewards effort.
Which totally explains why you'll often hear the controversial phrase, savers are losers. Now, it's not an insult, it's just a raw economic observation. With savings accounts yielding under 5% and inflation hovering around 3 to 4%, the wealthy recognize that parking your money means your purchasing power is literally evaporating. The rich don't just park their capital, they deploy it.
So, when you deploy that capital, you want to use this 5-step velocity of money formula. This is exactly how the wealthy compound their capital without constantly needing new out-of-pocket cash. Step 1, you invest in a cash-flowing asset, like a rental property. Step 2, you get your original money back, maybe by forcing appreciation and refinancing. Step 3, you keep the asset running on house money. Step 4, you redeploy that recovered capital right into a new asset. And Step 5, you repeat the cycle indefinitely. You're getting a return of your capital, not just a return on it.
Of course, to actually execute this playbook, you've got to master the basics. You want to use good debt to acquire those cash-flowing assets, keeping it far away from toxic consumer debt. You've got to protect your credit score like it's your financial report card to keep those borrowing costs low. Build multiple income streams for stability. And remember, budgeting isn't a restriction. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a tool for controlling your money's velocity.
Because ultimately, as the quote goes, the velocity of your money determines the size of your wealth. It's a profound realization. The size of your wealth isn't just about how much you earn. It's about how fast and efficiently your money moves through assets. Think of money like an electrical current. It is incredibly powerful, but only while it is actively moving and circulating.
Well, we have covered a lot today. The hidden realities of inflation, the nuts and bolts of our banking system, and the exact asset-building formulas used by the rich. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to challenge you to look closely at your own finances and ask yourself this one final, absolutely vital question. Is your money just sitting still and slowly eroding, or is it actively working to buy your freedom?